Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Nikita Kurnani. I work as a principal at Incref, organizer for today's event, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. So, Incref enables fashion brands improve their sales velocity through smart merchandising and by exposing 100% of their inventory across all sales channels, that is online, offline, as on marketplaces as well as brand.com website. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. So thank you for sharing your questions with us. We have incorporated them into our webinar. If you have any other questions, you can note it down on the chat box. We'll take it up at the end during the Q&A section. Now, product demands differ significantly due to different geographical locations, the local economic conditions, the cultural and geographical differences, and the regional preferences. Accounting for these variations appropriately in inventory management can significantly improve a retailer's profit. As the brand owner, your livelihood hinges on your ability to deliver your products as quickly and as affordably as possible. In fact, fast delivery is so important that 87% of the buyers cite shipping speed as the key factor when choosing a supplier. As consumers demand increasingly increase and they want more faster deliveries and they become increasingly impatient, it is the right time to diversify your inventory. Faster delivery times, lower shipping costs, greater visibility of products combine to give you a perfect recipe to move to a multi-warehousing strategy. Now, this multi-warehousing strategy in today's time can become the most powerful tool in your company's arsenal. Every business reaches a stage where they are ready to expand, and by that, it means they are paving their way to the growth. So now the question arises that what is the single best way to successfully diversify your inventory across multiple warehouses? Let's find that out today. Now, as businesses embark on their journey to recovery, we have the opportunity to learn from the industry experts who have created greater brands and greater success stories. Despite pandemic, these experts have increased cash flows during COVID times. With great pleasure, introducing our top industry fashion experts to discuss gateway to humongous logistic cost savings and faster deliveries. What is the hype around regional utilization? Our first panelist for today is Mr. Shishir Gupta, Head of Omnichannel Urban Brands. Well known among colleagues to be being extremely approachable, humble, and detail-oriented, Shishir is admired for his time management skills, his intelligence, and deep understanding of the retail ecosystem. He has proven abilities in driving digital seamless customer experiences, managing P&L, driving digital transformations, building high-performance teams, creating critical cross-functional projects, and is currently driving the digital initiatives for international brands such as Gap, US Polo, Sephora, Aeropostale, and Arrow, and is also responsible for managing e-commerce as well as your brand, website, and marketplace operations for urban lifestyle brands. Welcome, Shishir.
Thank you. I think this is the longest ever introduction that I've ever got. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Our second panelist is Mr. Vaibhav Baveja, Head of E-commerce Bestseller India, an accomplished management professional with over a decade of experience in e-commerce and ITES. A second panelist has a proven track record in achieving sales targets, managing P&L, devising company growth strategies with key account management and cross-functional team management skills. Having worked with some of the competent and renowned e-commerce companies like Amazon and Snapdeal, Vaibhav is currently heading the e-commerce division of globally loved brands Jack & Jones, Vero Moda, Only, and Selected at Bestseller India. Welcome, Vaibhav.
Thanks a lot, Nikita, for the introduction.
Yeah. Thank you, both of you and our entire audience for taking out your time for the discussion. We have a lot to discuss in an hour. So without further ado, kickstarting the discussion with the most important question for today. What is regional utilization and what is the hype around regional utilization? So in simple layman terms, regional utilization is defined as a fraction of the total demand which is fulfilled from your nearest warehouse, and in case your nearest warehouse has capacity constraints, then whichever is the second nearest warehouse that fulfills your regional demand or your most local demand. So all your orders, which is from your regional orders or national orders, convert more to local and regional orders, thereby you saving huge on your shipping cost, improving your delivery times, and making your visibility higher, which leads to higher conversion. So setting that context for today, I just wanted to start with the first question from Weber. So I just wanted to know from you, Weber, how distributed warehousing makes the supply chain more resilient and cost effective.
So Nikita, I would like to break this down into two parts. One is the resilience part. Now, with the times we are in today, I think brands have been pushed to think through their business models again in pandemic. Be it any aspect of business, be it your product market fit, be it your discounting strategy, as we were discussing earlier, and be it your warehousing and supply chain strategy. Right now, if you look at it from a 2016 or 17 lens, I think order to delivery timelines of 5.5 and 6 days, and brands serving their consumers from one central warehouse was pretty much the benchmark, and it was pretty much okay for all the brands to do that. I think fast forwarding 2020, the order to delivery timelines have reduced to sub 3 days. And this will not be possible if we don't have a distributed supply chain, right? Basis the demand of your brands, or I think brands would quickly need to plan or collaborate with the 3PLs and the warehousing agencies to set up regional warehousing as soon as possible. And we saw in the pandemic, I think the brands with a very resilient supply chain were able to sort of respond to the consumer demand in a much better manner, right? The entire states and cities were going on a shutdown, and you have one central warehouse. You were not able to reach to the consumers for maybe 30 or 60 days. So I think it was a lesson learned, I think, by a lot of brands. And second, now coming to the cost effectiveness perspective, I think everyone would agree that the biggest cost of operating in e-commerce marketplaces or the .in websites is the logistics cost, right? I think it varies from anywhere between 13 to 22% of your sales, bases a lot of factors like, again, regional utilization, your average selling prices. And so I think what we have seen personally is if you improve your regional utilization by a 10 percentage point, it gives you a EBIT margin savings of almost 1%. Now, in a wafer thin margin environment, what we are operating in e-commerce, I think 1 percentage point saving is a huge one. Can be invested in marketing. It can be invested in 10 other things. So I think the basis of this cost saving will only come from the distributed supply chain, which will make the brands respond to the demand in a more resilient manner, and the cost saving, which could be then used up as an EBIT margin savings.
Right. So as you mentioned that not just distributed warehousing is helpful in a normal case scenario, but its importance was realized more in case of a pandemic or a natural disaster when your inventory is stuck in one place and cannot move forward. And you also mentioned about the cost effectiveness that, so generally we have heard that, just verifying that fact with you. So we have seen one of the brands saying recently out loud on LinkedIn that the cost that they were actually incurring for opening a new regional warehouse was actually equal to or lesser than the loss that they were incurring because of a poor regional utilization fulfillment, because of having just a central warehouse. So how much do you agree with that?
Could you please repeat the last part? I just lost you there.
Yeah. For example, let's say they had a warehouse in a central warehouse only in Bangalore, and then they realized that they were incurring huge lakhs of revenue loss because of additional costs that they were incurring because of poor regional utilization. And because of that, when they opened a new warehouse in Delhi to conquer the north demand, they're actually whatever cost that they incurred to open a new warehouse or tying up through 3PL was actually cheaper than whatever they were incurring due to additional logistic costs because of poor regional utilization fulfillment.
Absolutely. So when I said that 10% increase in regional utilization would lead to a 1% incremental gain in your logistics, I think I absolutely agree with this that the incremental cost which will go through to set up a new warehouse will be lesser than the logistics saving you'll have. And see, most importantly, I think even from a consumer lens also, as you said in your introduction, I think consumers need instant gratification. Consumers need, I think, even in, let's say, need-based categories like a UG or a loungewear, I think people would want the products to reach within 24 hours. So that leads in increase in conversion as well, which leads in a increase in sales. So if you look at it from a 360-degree perspective, the gain is even going to be more than 1%.
Right, absolutely true. So, moving on, Sishal, we wanted to understand with you that with tremendous growth in online sales and market spreading, many brands are still distributing via a single central warehouse. What do you think should be the factors considered to decide that it is now the right time to move to distributed warehousing?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Nikita. So there are multiple factors, and every business would vary, with the way they will approach. But I can just list down a couple of very important ones. The first thing is that do you have your own .com also, which is being I mean, the warehouse is fulfilling orders for your .com as well. If yes, then it's time to think about it. Really think about it, because Vaibhav has mentioned these costs are generally 14%, 11 to 14% line item in the P&L, and any change out there is a straight or basically a 10% shift into a regional utilization will definitely add up 1 to 2 PPS in your EBIT. Having said that, if you have a .com, definitely start thinking about it. Okay. The second bit is, what is your commercial structure? So, I mean, their marketplaces operate on a commissions plus logistics, and as well as a commissions model, which includes logistics as well. So if you are operating on a marketplace, which is where you have a commercial structure of commissions plus logistics, definitely start thinking about it. If you are only running on commissions, you may still want to wait and watch, and I'll come to that bit as well. The third bit is, have you settled your own warehouse right now, which is delivering a 99.5% SLA and a 99.85% fulfillment? Start thinking about it, because you've already achieved the threshold of being efficient at one warehouse. You know the success story, you know the recipe. You can go ahead and open up another warehouse. So, and if your regional utilization has hit a roof of 25 to 30% month on month, start thinking about it. So I think at least these are the trigger points when you should definitely, when one should definitely think about whether they need a multiple warehouse or not, because all these factors are indicating that you are reaching a certain scale. And when you're reaching a certain scale, then as a business, we have to optimize the P&L line items, and logistics will definitely remain the one. Now I'll come to the point of the commissions plus logistics or only commissions. Fine, let's say with a marketplace you have an arrangement of only commission, which is there's an X percentage that you pay, which includes the logistics as well. Then why would you go to multiple warehouse? Because you're not reducing the cost. But what you're doing is, so basically RU gives you two things. One is optimization, reduction in the cost, and second is increase in the sales. It's very simple. Just go to Amazon, change your pin code and search for a product. Put a pin code of Bangalore, search a product, your result page is different. You change your delivery pin code to Delhi, your result page is different. Why? Because they're showing the products that are closer to you, because they know that a faster delivery is if somebody's offering if any seller is offering a faster delivery, there's 2x chance of conversion. Okay. And the money spent on marketing, which is getting that customer to that website or to that page, gets optimized when the conversion happens. So it's not only the bottom line item, it's I mean basically not the bottom of the funnel, but even the top of the funnel that gets optimized when when there is a distributed fulfillment methodology. So I think these are the factors that not factor, but I think these are the trigger points that one should definitely think about whether they need a multiple warehouse or not. Because I know um, many of the brands are still doing single warehouse fulfillment, but as the business is scaling and as the business are looking for better scale as well as profitability, it makes sense to start thinking about regional opening multiple warehouses.
Right. So as you mentioned that you look at the shipping cost as well as the delivery times, as well as what is the scale of the business, what is your RU percentage and the other factors you mentioned, and then take a call that now it's the right time to think to move to multi-warehousing.
Right.
So a follow-up to that. So what is the scale in terms of the minimum number of orders of inventory at which another warehouse should be opened? Is there any
See,
benchmark
I
there?
think there's a lot of flexibility right now. Opening a warehouse is not about. I mean, everyone's mind. It's about a big physical space where you have to go and spend on rent. You have to go and hire people. But the model has changed completely. Like they says, there's VAS, right? There are there are warehouse players who are providing you these services on a per piece basis. So it really is not about thinking that there is going to be massive cost and whether do I have that scale or not.
Right.
More than the scale, what one should really look at is my RU. Is my RU stuck at a certain level for the consecutive 3 months? I should definitely go ahead. And if that acts as a trigger point, thinking or thinking about warehousing as a physical structure, I think that's the mindset that we all have to let go of and be flexible in terms of saying, hey, but there's no matter, we can also transfer 10,000 units to a place in Calcutta or to a warehouse in Delhi or to a warehouse in Bombay. There's no problem starting with 10,000 as well. And the cost is, I mean, you're not going to lose a lot. The only cost that you will incur is, let's say, a per piece B2B transfer of 8 to 10 rupees, but the saving that you will have and the scale that you will get will be massive.
Correct. So rightly you mentioned that the cost you will incur is roughly 8 to 10 rupees or maybe slightly plus minus 2. But actually when you save a cost, generally it's bare minimum 20 to 22 rupees and it can go up to 50, 60 as well depending on the category and the
It's
product.
not really, it's not even about the cost, logistics cost. So there is a certain increase that you will get in your sell through. There is a certain increase. I mean, sell through means your sales, and there is a certain decrease that you will get in your logistics cost. So both adds up to your top line and bottom line.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely true. So Vaibhav, according to you, what are the benefits of splitting inventory across multiple warehouses in proportion to the regional demand? How critical is regional utilization?
So, Nikita, first of all, I think now regional utilization is not a fancy jargon anymore. It used to be earlier. Now it's more about a reality of life. I think brands, apart from the right product market fit, I think regional utilization would enable the brands to reach consumers in a much faster manner. So it's a necessity of the day and not a jargon anymore. And I think uh, I look at it from three lenses. One is consumer, the other is cost saving, the other would be contingency. Now, starting from consumer lens, which I think is the most important one, if we try to analyze the Indian consumer, the Indian e-commerce consumer, and the buying patterns of the Indian e-commerce consumer, uh, I think again, instant gratification and impulse buy is a very large part of their purchase decision, right? Now, if you talk about offline, the biggest strengths of that business is touch and feel and instant gratification. Now, what about a fashion retailer in e-commerce? The biggest enabler to getting that instant gratification is definitely going to be the turnaround times. If you are able to, let's say 2 years from now, if you are able to reach your consumer within 24 hours, that's where I think the brands should be targeting about. I think, and also I think the second one is, let's say a lot of brands have started doing Omni now. It's a testament uh, to the speed to reach the consumers. Brands have started seeing goodness via this model of business, uh, and I think so. And I think the last part would be, so I think there is one question also in the Q&A section which says that how important it is to deliver. I think what would be the impact of conversion? Now, we did a very interesting sort of research with one of the leading retailers. What we realized was there is a strong correlation between shortening the delivery timelines, the conversions, and the NPS. NPS is a happiness index where we measure the consumer happiness, right? So we found out that broadly, every 24-hour shortening of turnaround times gives a 10% increment in conversion and almost 2 to 3 percentage point increase in NPS. So, and this hypothesis again is more pronounced in the categories like work from home and comfort wear and need-based non-discretionary categories, right? So that's about the consumer lens. Now coming to the cost effectivity part, I think again we have discussed that almost 1 to 1.5% cost saving in the EBITDA margins is currently which the brands have started to see. But I think there is a lot of room for growth here as well. I believe there are a lot of regions in India like East. A lot of brands in the leading retailers have started getting 25% plus demand in East, which I think offline retailers don't get that kind of a demand from there. And I think not a lot of brands have made their way in East from a warehousing as a service perspective. So there is a lot of room in cost saving as well from the brand's perspective. Coming to the last part, which is contingency. Again, pandemic has again taught us the importance of resilience of supply chain. And so regional utilization will also bring contingency as a byproduct. So, yeah.
Right. So as you rightly mentioned that there are the ways it has benefits is phenomenal, and if you're intelligently splitting it, it's definitely adding much value to your business, not just from the cost perspective, but from a customer satisfaction scores also, which you rightly mentioned. So that is another perspective to look at it. So Sushil, next is I want to know from you that in your opinion, why are a large number of brands in India still not intelligently allocating their stocks or splitting their inventories across multiple warehouses? And how are you currently doing it?
I mean, intelligent or not intelligent, it's definitely not scientific right now, for sure. I think right now, no, not even right now. I'll say probably 2-3 months ago, everybody was happy in the success of seeing online sales grow, and never feeling a need, or there was never a realization that they should open another warehouse. But what has happened? I mean, now, Nikita, this bit. Can you just go back to your question? Just flash that question.
Yeah, just a second.
This is very.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that you asked was that why are they still operating? So I believe they never had that need or they never felt the need to open that another warehouse, because sales were booming and the scale was going up and up. Now, with respect to best practices, I believe it there's not enough data with them. So when I say enough data, that means whatever that has happened, or whatever sale that has happened, or let's say, for example, if we go ahead and see that there are certain regions from where we are getting a demand, But then there are certain regions from where we're not getting the demand because we were never present there. Okay. So while the data will tell us, while the data will tell us some story, it will not tell us, it will never give us a very large picture. Because what about the places that we've never been? Fine, there are, for example, my data will tell me go ahead and open a warehouse in Delhi because 30% of the demand is coming from Delhi. But what about East? My 5% demand is only coming from East, so my data always tell that please go, don't, there's no need to go to East yet. Okay. So I think that's the lack of scientific data. I mean, it's basically scientific decision making has been also one of the factor that the brands were never able to kind of determine that which are the locations that they should go. Uh, with respect to and I think, yeah, so I think this was the main reason, that one, there is no scientific approach, and second, still a not there's still not a lot of data yet to help you make that scientific decision.
Right. So also handling inventory, just a extension to that, as you mentioned that, right? In your opinion, since you are handling such a huge amount of inventory, what is the good RU fulfillment percentage according to you, that you say that if you are in this particular range, then you should not worry, but if you are below this range, then it's a matter of concern or a red flag?
I think right now with the situation that we are in, at least for a fashion retailer, I guess 50% plus, as anything which is north of 50% RU is a good utilization. Otherwise, basically then what happens, that an equilibrium has to be hit where your inventory carrying cost is also not traded off with the RU that you are going to generate. So anything that is a north of 50% RU is a good is healthy enough. A, it is healthy enough, and B, it will give you more data points, more I mean, basically it will give you a lot of insights into whether this 50% is good enough, or there's an opportunity to be a 60% or 70%. For fashion, 50 to 60% is fine. If it was FMCG, for example, Big Basket or Swiggy in basically the grocery deliveries would operate at 100% RU, not even RU, it's same city fulfillment. It really is not applied to us. We have a huge line of SKUs, a lot of variability. So which is at 50% is what I believe is right. If you're below 25%, then there's something definitely wrong. That means either you have opened a warehouse in Belgaum, or you've opened a warehouse in Nashik, which is ensuring that your 90% of your fulfillment or deliveries are national. So anything below 25% is definitely a red flag. That means you're way too off from the demand, from the place where the demand is concentrated. And the issue is just your location. It's not there's nothing else. It's just the location that you are in. So that's definitely a flag.
Right. And Weber, I wanted to understand from you also that how are you currently doing the inventory allocation across multiple warehouses, because you also have multiple warehouses.
Yeah. So, see, I think now there are two parts to it. One is if your brand is more strong in core or loose line of business or product line, I think it's relatively easier for you to do that from the historical data as well. But for brands like us, where fast fashion and we have almost 1,000+ options getting churned every season, I think only historical data would to decide the forward demand would not suffice. I think you need to have the right tech. You need to have the right tech partner who can give you the capability to sort of amalgamate three parts. One is the historical data. Second is slight deep diving on the product attributes based demand. And the third is any upcoming trends at a region level. If you capture all these three and then you plan your forward supply, I think that is what we are trying to achieve right now. I think from only the historical data and product attributes, we saw the RUs could be anywhere between 55 to 60 for a fast fashion brand. For a core strong brand, as I think, as Shishir also mentioned, any number above 50 is good for a fashion brand. I think for a core fashion brand, it could be as high as 75 also. For a brand like us, I think anywhere between 50 to 70 is a more achievable number. And with the right tech partner, I think this number can go as high.
Right. And according to you, what is the ideal frequency of distributing stocks to regional warehouses?
So I think that now again that will also depend upon the capacities also which you have aligned with your warehouse partners. But I think uh, there's no right answer to it. We have seen anywhere between 30 to 60-day replenishment cycle in the more core categories working in our favor, and in slightly height width categories, it can go as high as 90 or 120 days as well. I think all the brands are trying to work the right way out, and there is no, I think, quick fix or the right answer to this one, according to me. But anywhere between 30 to 19 fashion would be the right time to sort of replenish.
Right. So, Vaibhav, another question to you, as you were mentioning that fashion has products with low depth and actually more options. So, width is high, but depth is low. So, typically, what are the challenges you face while distributing inventory across multiple warehouses?
So again, now let's say the e-commerce business, a lot is driven by OSM, and the old season merchandise already is there in cut sizes probably. Now cut sizes plus high width is an additional challenge in itself. And what you'll end up doing is you will place inventory in three different warehouses, and I think you will end up getting short of. I think you'll end up uh, predicting the wrong sort of demand. If again if you don't have the right tech, you'll be struggling in placing the right inventories in the different regions. Again, reiterating, I think uh, the right tech would mean the historical data, product information, and the upcoming trends in various regions. If we
Right.
have these three things in place, I think uh, should be a good start.
I think
Right.
just uh,
Yes, Ashok,
just
please.
I think Vaibhav has mentioned a very important point. While RU is important, but in fashion construct, it is extremely challenging because the inventory pipe is it's not it's not a unlimited inventory pipe, or there's not going to be an uninterrupted replenishment from factory, right? It doesn't happen. So I think that is always the biggest challenge. That fine, you'll if you have those 10 pieces and you will distribute those 10 pieces, then whatever juice that you're supposed to get is not enough, right? The amount of effort that you're going to put into distributing that, it's not enough. So that's a big challenge. And then definitely OSM in cut sizes. So how do you distribute these cut sizes, also a challenge. um, what what has worked is basically splitting this into a strategy of just applying a Pareto to it, or saying that my long tail will always remain at at my central warehouse, but my top 30% or my top 30 to 40%, which will be mostly your cores, mostly your cores, and the inventory where you have a good amount of depth and a high ROS. Those 30% are the ones that should actually go to the other warehouses.
Right. So you mentioned that for cut size it's an issue, and generally you need historical data, and you can bank upon that historical data to take actions on distributing your new lot of inventory. But what about new product launches? Right? Because in fashion we see that every season there is a new launch, every 2 months there is a new hit coming to the floor. So in those cases when there is a new product launches and there is no historical data to bank upon, what should be the right way of distributing that new product launches inventory?
Okay, so again, as I said, it's not scientific. The data is not there, but there could be some approach, which is saying that at least looking at the historical data, it should be 5:3:2, or 5 is to or 3:2:1. That ratios can be determined based your historical data of a category. Mm, for NSM or any new launches, definitely distribute. The distribution should happen to multiple warehouses, because each, in that sense, we're giving each style a chance to perform and become a bestseller if possible, or basically it, or at least it will help us to gather the data, right? It will help us to enrich the data. if if we start, being if we start putting any if we start making any decisions which are based on hunch, I think that is what will not work here. What should what I mean, what I would recommend is that, any new season launch, there should be some distribution with respect to any historical data that you have, till the time, there's a use of a better technology. And wherever I've been saying technology, yes, technology will play a lot of role, because we do not have history. For an NSM, we do not have history. We would want to learn more, from history of any other brand, from history of a portal, a category, how's that category behaved in a portal. I think that is all will help.
Right. So actually, since you guys have already mentioned about technology, my actually next question was about the same. That now that you have listed down that when should be the right time to move to distributed warehousing, when should we target, what are the factors that we should consider that to move to multi warehousing, what are the factors to consider to split inventory across multiple warehouses. So all those have been covered. And again, in terms of fashion as well as in terms of core products. So now, Session, how technology, as you all are mentioning, how technology can help achieve higher regional utilization.
See, I think the important basis of a technology playing important role, basically, is that the amount of data that technology can analyze and then use that for recommendation. Right now, if we, for example, if a brand right now looks at their own set of data, which is their own set of brands, sales history, they will always be limited to the opportunity of unexplored. The opportunity of unexplored is basically the East example which I gave, that if I'm never there, then I do not know the true potential of East. So what technology will definitely help here is, bringing or building that intelligence, which we've been speaking about intelligence, building that intelligence, which is which has, on the basis of a lot of data, a lot of history across the brands. So I think that intelligence is something that will be really important, when you talk about technology. Then the second role technology should do is recommendation, and um, that recommendation also bases some understanding of our supply chain, which is, it should not be that, you coming out with a recommendation and say, hey, bring send these 100 pieces to a Mumbai warehouse. But when you know that, how my supply chain is, my supply chain, probably my backend supply chain needs me to at least have 60 days of lead time for procuring. So some sort of intelligence into the forward, into the demand, as well as our backend supply chain, and then giving us recommendation. I think that's another part. The third part is that, really removing human decision making out here. It it cannot be, because as humans, we, or as a fashion expert or as a merchandiser, we'll try to put in some um, you know we'll try to veto some decisions, but we have to let the algorithm decide, and let the algorithm warm up, and let the algorithm tell us the right recommendations. What we've seen, at least what I have seen in in any such technology, whether it is auto replenishment or I mean, just or any algorithm which is supposed to give you recommendation, if you do not follow these recommendations at least for 2 to 3 months, and let that algorithm learn by itself, I've always seen these projects failing. So it's very important to have the technology which is giving you recommendation, but as a business user, we have to follow those recommendations at least for 2 to 3 months without doing any manual interventions or taking arbitrary decisions. So and I think these, if we combine all of this, the one edge technology is going to give is speed, which is go to market speed, faster decision making, and everything is data driven, right? So this, I think these three would be the greatest addition to how a business will reach a user utilization and how the business will scale.
Great. So those were the questions that we wanted to discuss. Now we can move to the Q&A. Y'all can let us know whatever questions in the chat box and we'll take it up. So we'll start with the first question from the chat box. That is, handling inventory returns and its reconciliation is a big pain. Can regional utilization help in any way in improving returns management or making return inventory live more quickly? So, Deborah, this question is for you.
So what we have seen is, of course, the inventory redeployment is going to fasten up with higher regional utilizations, and that is going to give you an incremental sales. Earlier, it was, I think, almost 45 to 60 days it took to redeploy that merchandise back into business. But that, I think that timelines have significantly reduced by almost 40%. But I think personally, I don't believe the reconciliation processes will be impacted, because reconciliation process, I think, is more towards how strong you have built those processes across the warehouses. Because rightly mentioned, it's the biggest pain currently in B2C business. I mean, there is a, if the processes are not strong, there is a significant pilferage of upwards of 1% in your PNL, and that will actually depend upon how strong your processes are. We haven't seen any improvement in this metric because of RU. It is mostly how strong your processes are.
Right. So next question to Shishir is that we have now covered that regional utilization can cater to fast fashion brands, and there is a huge value because we have talked about low depth and high width categories. But will regional utilization add benefits to a brand which is highly core in nature?
Highly core in nature,
Right.
100%. I think highly core in nature means that most of its SKUs, first is that you have a limited width. That means you have a limited risk. The second bit is that you have an uninterrupted supply. That means you can probably source in 45 days, 30 days, as per the demand, or even lesser. And then the third bit is that probably everything that you have in your portfolio has a 25% plus sell through per month, right? So it's a no brainer. We should, I mean, core business where you believe all these three factors are a tick mark, or a green flag. Definitely go ahead and do as much RU as possible, and anything north of 70% here is a benchmark for you.
Right. So Weber, next question is, how important is it for deliveries to happen within 3 days, and how critical is it to customers And what's the improvement in conversion that we can expect between 3 days versus 4 to 5 days order to delivery turnaround times?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I think we have moved from a cycle of upwards of 5 days of order delivery times to less than 3 now, and I think it's even going to get better now. I think by 2025, maybe, who knows? In fashion, also 36 hours is going to be the minimum viability sort of an O2D. So and I think we did a very interesting sort of a research with one of the e-tailers where I mentioned that we saw a direct correlation of almost 10%, 10 basis point improvement in conversion with a 24-hour reduction in order to delivery timelines. So I think that is where for fashion, I would believe 10 to 15% basis point conversion with the 24 hours reduction is what we have seen in our business.
Right. Shishir, next is that can we also target at a lower inventory days of cover or improvement in days of inventory cover that we are holding if we have multi-warehousing and if we have proper region utilization?
So yes, that can happen, and again, but that will happen only for your best sellers. So if you have a better inventory turn on your best sellers, that means you are anyways you're ultimately reducing the overall inventory holding at a national level. But it all depends upon what is that is being transferred. So if that is if the RU is mostly for best sellers or your top sellers, then definitely the overall inventory holding will also reduce because the turns will be higher.
Right.
I think I would just want to add here, as Shishir had rightly mentioned earlier, that I believe predictive algorithms are the way to go, and as Shishir mentioned, it's imperative to have a patient approach, give technology that time, and I think if that is done and the data is matured, automatically I think the days of inventory will start reducing in your
Right.
system.
Yep.
So next is Weber. What are the challenges in doing distributed warehousing from a point of view of business which have large SKUs with lot of variants like in garments?
Yeah, again, as we discussed earlier, I think the predictability of demand gets more and more difficult if the width is higher and the cut sizes are higher, and so there is an inverse correlation between RU and the quality of your inventory. So that is the biggest challenge, and again, to overcome that challenge, I think Microsoft Excels will bottom out from here on. We really would need to use technology, and I think, as you said, how do you let's say predict for fresh products?
Right.
Uh, the same problem is there in this one as well. I think it's the only way ahead to have a strong technology in place.
Right. So, Sachin, next is for you. How do you ensure that overall inventory holding doesn't go up while opening a new warehouse?
So Nikita, I think in that case, at least till now, ensuring that you're only selling your top sellers, which is top 30% SKUs. But going ahead, I think when the I think technology will play a part here because it will work within constraints as well. So while you will say that, well, you will tell the technology that or algorithm will work to optimize sales, there'll always be a constraint to say, hey, it cannot be a more than X days of inventory. So I think that should definitely help. But as I said, right now it's just saying that we'll transfer 30%, which is higher turns and lower inventory holding costs at the national level.
Right. Weber, follow-up question to that. Are brands running any RU experiments with any of the platforms? Do you know any other technology platforms that is providing you help with improving your regional utilization?
So I would say bestseller brands are doing a pilot with Incref, and it's being I think we have started seeing results right from day one. So as I said, I think it's a long process where we will get to learn more and more with time. And yeah.
Right. So Sishan, next question is to you that currently in case of regional utilization, what we have seen is that now with the rising share of e-commerce, what the is saying that as the share of e-commerce revenue is growing at a very high pace, and with digital lockdown and all, this share has increased exponentially. So do you see that with such high rise in e-commerce revenue for the fashion brands post pandemic, it'll create a higher need for multi-warehousing?
Yeah, so absolutely. As it's, I mean, basically a business which was 2% of the company's overall turnover. There was never a focus on, its profitability. There was a certain profitability that it was delivering, and it is all fine, right? Because in the overall scheme of things, it will never make or break the company's P&L. But now it will. So, and if now it will, that means each and every line item has to be looked at, and logistics being the one. With scale, I do not, I mean, I believe it is unavoidable to not go the multi warehouse strategy, because that 2% is probably a 20% or 30% or a 40% in those companies right now, and it's a bigger piece in the overall scheme. Anything, any swing there will swing the overall company's financials. So from that point of view, I think it's unavoidable right now.
Right. And Sachin, follow-up question to you, which one of the audience has mentioned to ask you is that currently most of these decisions of distribution are actually taken by doing it in Excel. So that is the way out that these merchandisers are taking the decisions. So do you think that because of Excel limitations, a lot of intelligent decisions are not being taken, or because of limited capabilities of Excel?
I don't think so. It's a limitation of Excel. I think it's the limitation of data, and the limitation of an individual to kind of write those logics in Excel, right? I think that's what is a limitation in Excel. Weber has, yes, it has bottomed out, but it is still doing a lot for everybody. But yeah, I mean, Excel. Uh, Excel is just a medium to now watch the data and not make decisions, uh, on the data. So yes, there is a limitation for sure, and that limitation is the amount of data that's required, and then the logics that you need to build to analyze that data.
Right. So also, as you mentioned, the entire humongous amount of data size that we are getting, plus the different dimensions that we are now looking at the data instead of just looking at a category or higher levels, we are now boiling down to every product, every store, or every warehouse scenario and looking what is working and what is not working. So there are a lot of other audience questions that we have received, but we couldn't take. But however, we'll revert to you guys on mail, and we'll also revert from the panelists what their responses are on those questions. Now, as since we are already working with Sishir and Weber both on our INCREF Iris regional utilization module, so this INCREF Iris has actually built a regional utilization module, which is a novel solution to intelligently split inventory across multiple warehouses, both for offline as well as online. And this module optimally allocates your inventory to all the regional warehouses based on your location based analytics. That is, it maps every pin code to the nearest warehouse, and if the nearest warehouse has another warehouse capacity or any other constraints, then in that particular case scenario it will go to the next nearest warehouse. So by doing so, one, you are achieving higher regional utilization, which in again another case results with you in a better visibility that will lead to higher conversion. Second, you are achieving faster deliveries because then you can service your customer much faster. You're saving huge on your logistic costs. That means on an average, what we have seen with brands, you're roughly saving on a bare minimum of 20 to 22 rupees per product because of proper regional utilization. And also it will significantly lower your rate of returns due to faster delivery. So these are the benefits of using Iris RU. Now, for one of the many of our brands, as Vaibhav and Shishir both mentioned, that how technology can play a very important role in adding value to your business. So, with many of our brands that we are actually working, we have recognized the need of controlling expenses and as well as enhancing customer experience. So, they were experiencing lofty shipment costs and higher delivery timelines. And by integrating this Incref Iris RU module, they saved nearly 12% on their logistic cost, which is huge on their bottom line, thus increasing their overall margins and enhance their regional fulfillment rate to roughly increased it by nearly 30%. And that is also for a fast fashion brand. So that is on this module. For knowing more, you can go to our website, incref.com/iris, and know more of the product, or you can write it down to us. Thank you very much, Shishir and Vaibhav, for taking out your time for this discussion and honoring us with your presence. We really appreciate the valuable advice that you have given us. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Hope you had some amazing learnings and takeaways. We'll also share with you the webinar recording as well as the key takeaways from our panelists. So thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. This was great discussing with you, Vaibhav.
Same here, Shishir.
Okay.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.